Welcome to Snooze Tale Studio. We invite you to embark on a magical journey filled with wonder and tranquility. Tonight, join Felix, the wise fox with a glowing tail, as he leads you through the mystical Enchanted Woods. This is a place where fireflies dance, stars reflect in tranquil ponds, and the whispering trees share their ancient secrets. Let the gentle adventures of Felix and his woodland friends lull you into a peaceful slumber as they discover the beauty, magic, and calm that only the Enchanted Woods can offer. Once upon a time, in a faraway land where the night sky sparkled with countless stars, there existed a serene forest called the Enchanted Woods. Nestled between gently rolling hills, these woods were filled with tall, graceful trees whose branches whispered softly to each other in the wind. The leaves were of many hues, with shades of emerald green, deep blue, and golden yellow, shimmering in the gentle moonlight. The Enchanted Woods were unlike any other forest. When night fell, the world here would come alive in a quiet, magical way. Fireflies danced gracefully, creating trails of soft light that seemed to weave glowing threads between the trees. The crickets sang a lullaby that blended harmoniously with the breeze, while a distant brook babbled softly, its waters glistening like silvery ribbons under the moon. In the heart of the woods lived a wise and gentle fox named Felix. Felix was no ordinary fox. He had a tail that glowed faintly at night, casting a warm, gentle light wherever he went. It was said that Felix's glow could calm even the most restless of creatures, helping them find peace when they needed it most. He had lived in these woods for many years, becoming a guardian of its quiet beauty. One night, as the stars gathered like a blanket of tiny lights across the sky, Felix decided to take a walk to the Starlit Pond, a special place deep within the woods. This pond was known for its tranquil waters that reflected the stars above, creating the illusion that the sky and earth had become one. It was a place where time seemed to slow, where worries seemed to fade away, and the beauty of the universe could be felt with every gentle ripple. Felix moved silently through the forest, his glowing tail lighting the way. His paws barely made a sound as they touched the soft moss-covered ground. The scent of wildflowers and fresh pine filled the air, adding to the peacefulness of the night. As he walked, he noticed the little woodland animals that shared his journey. A hedgehog who was lazily rolling along, and a small family of rabbits who peeked out from behind a bush, their eyes wide with curiosity. Felix greeted them all warmly. He knew the value of company during the stillness of the night. The animals joined him in his walk, following the soft glow of his tail, drawn by the warmth it seemed to offer. The journey to the pond wasn't rushed. There was no hurry, no urgency, just the gentle rhythm of nature. As they walked deeper into the woods, they came across a family of deer, their eyes reflecting the soft light of Felix's tail. The deer bowed their heads in greeting, and Felix invited them to join the journey. The group grew larger, and soon they were a quiet procession moving through the forest, each step in harmony with the gentle music of the night. The path to the Starlit Pond wound through a grove of ancient oak trees. These trees were massive, their branches reaching high into the sky, and their trunks covered in soft moss. Felix paused for a moment, looking up at the towering giants. He whispered a word of gratitude to the trees, for they had stood there for centuries, watching over the forest and protecting it from harm. As they continued, the sound of the brook grew louder, and soon they reached a small clearing where the brook meandered through. The water was crystal clear, and it flowed over smooth stones, creating a melody that seemed to blend perfectly with the night. Felix stopped by the brook and took a sip of the cool, refreshing water. The other animals followed, enjoying the pure taste of the forest's gift. The journey resumed, and they crossed a small wooden bridge that spanned the brook. The bridge was old, its wood weathered by time, but it was sturdy. Felix led the way across, his tail casting a soft glow that illuminated the path. On the other side of the bridge, the trees began to thin, and the air grew even more still. They were nearing the starlit pond. Finally, the pond came into view. It was larger than the animals had imagined, its surface perfectly smooth, reflecting the stars above like a mirror. The sight was so beautiful that it took their breath away. The animals gathered at the edge of the pond, their eyes wide with wonder. Felix sat down, his glowing tail resting by his side, and the other animals settled around him. The rabbits nestled close to Felix, and the hedgehog rolled into a comfortable position nearby. The deer lay down gracefully, their reflections shimmering in the pond. They all looked out across the water, letting the calmness wash over them. Above them, the stars twinkled softly, while the gentle song of a nightingale filled the air. It was as if the entire universe was singing a lullaby just for them. Felix began to tell a story, a tale of how the stars came to be, a story passed down through generations of forest dwellers. His voice was soft and melodic, carrying with it the wisdom of many nights spent in the quiet company of nature. The rabbits listened, their eyes half closed, and even the hedgehog seemed to be lulled into a gentle sleep. The deer, too, lowered their heads, their eyes growing heavy as they listened to Felix's soothing voice. The story was one of wonder and magic, of a time when the night sky was empty, and how one by one, stars began to appear, each with its own special purpose. Some were there to guide, some to inspire dreams, and others simply to remind those below of the beauty that existed beyond their immediate world. As Felix spoke, the animals felt their worries drift away. The gentle night wrapped around them, comforting and calm, until one by one, they all fell asleep by the starlit pond. The forest, too, seemed to rest, with the trees swaying gently in the breeze, and the stars watching over all. And so, under the watchful eyes of the universe, Felix, the wise fox, lay down by the edge of the pond, his glowing tail slowly dimming until it was just a faint ember, and he, too, drifted into a peaceful sleep. The night wore on, and the forest remained quiet, the only sound being the gentle rustle of leaves and the occasional splash of a fish in the pond. The stars above twinkled softly, their light reaching down to touch the sleeping animals. It was as if the stars were keeping watch, ensuring that the peace of the night would not be disturbed. As dawn approached, the first light of day began to creep over the horizon, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold. The animals stirred, waking from their restful slumber. Felix opened his eyes, his tail glowing faintly once more. He looked around at his companions, a gentle smile on his face. The night had been peaceful, and the magic of the enchanted woods had worked its wonders once again. The rabbits stretched and yawned, their noses twitching as they sniffed the fresh morning air. The deer rose gracefully, their ears perked as they listened to the sounds of the waking forest. The hedgehog uncurled, blinking sleepily in the early light. Felix stood, his tail brightening as he looked out across the pond, now shimmering with the colors of dawn. The journey back through the forest was just as gentle as the journey to the pond. The animals moved slowly, savoring the beauty of the morning. The sun's rays filtered through the trees, casting dappled light on the forest floor. Birds began to sing, their cheerful songs filling the air and adding to the sense of tranquility. As they walked, Felix spoke to his companions about the importance of moments like these, moments of peace and connection, where the worries of the world seemed far away. He reminded them that the forest was always there, a place of refuge and beauty, where they could come whenever they needed to find calm and comfort. The animals listened, their hearts filled with gratitude. They knew that the enchanted woods were special, and that Felix, with his glowing tail and gentle wisdom, was a guardian of that special magic. They walked together, the bond between them strengthened by the shared experience of the night. By the time they reached the edge of the woods, the sun was fully up and the forest was alive with light and sound. The animals parted ways, each returning to their own homes, but they carried with them the memory of the night by the starlit pond, a memory of peace, beauty, and the gentle glow of Felix's tail. Felix watched as his friends disappeared into the forest, a feeling of contentment washing over him. He turned and made his way back to his own den, a cozy spot beneath the roots of an ancient oak tree. He curled up inside, his tail glowing softly, and closed his eyes. He knew that the enchanted woods would always be there, a place where dreams came easily and where peace was never far away. As Felix rested, the forest continued its day. Birds flew overhead, squirrels scurried through the branches, and the brook continued its journey, its waters sparkling in the daylight. Felix's den was a sanctuary, with walls of earth and roots that formed a comforting embrace. He had decorated it with feathers, smooth stones, and dried flowers, all tokens from his many walks through the woods. It was a place where he could rest and recharge, ready for whatever new adventures awaited. After a while, Felix decided to explore another part of the forest. He stretched, shook out his fur, and stepped out into the sunlight. Today, he wanted to visit the Whispering Glade, a place where the trees were said to share their ancient secrets with those who listened carefully. The Whispering Glade was a bit farther than the Starlit Pond, but Felix felt excited about the journey. As Felix began his walk, he passed by a patch of wildflowers, their petals bright and colorful. Butterflies flitted from flower to flower, their wings catching the light as they danced. Felix paused to watch them, feeling a sense of joy at the simple beauty of the moment. He continued on, his tail glowing faintly even in the daylight, a reminder of the magic that flowed through the enchanted woods. The path to the Whispering Glade took Felix through a meadow where tall grasses swayed gently in the breeze. The air was warm, and the scent of the meadow filled Felix's senses. He saw bees buzzing from flower to flower, and a family of field mice scurrying about, gathering seeds. Felix smiled at the sight, feeling the interconnectedness of all the creatures that called the enchanted woods home. As he entered the Whispering Glade, Felix felt a change in the air. The trees here were different, taller, with thick, knotted trunks and branches that seemed to reach out to one another, forming a canopy that filtered the sunlight into a soft, green glow. The air was cool and filled with the scent of earth and leaves. Felix stepped lightly, his ears perked as he listened to the rustling of the leaves above. Felix found a comfortable spot beneath one of the ancient trees and sat down, closing his eyes to listen. The wind moved through the branches, creating a soft, whispering sound. Felix could almost make out words, snippets of stories about the forest's past, tales of the creatures that had come and gone, and the wisdom of the trees that had stood for centuries. He listened intently, letting the whispers fill his mind, feeling a sense of calm and connection to the world around him. After some time, Felix opened his eyes and looked around the glade. He noticed a young fawn standing at the edge, watching him curiously. Felix smiled and beckoned for the fawn to come closer. The fawn stepped hesitantly into the glade, its large eyes wide with wonder. Felix greeted the fawn warmly, and they sat together beneath the ancient tree, listening to the whispers of the forest. The day passed slowly, the sun moving across the sky as Felix and the fawn sat in peaceful silence. Felix shared stories with the fawn, tales of the stars, the starlit pond, and the beauty of the enchanted woods. The fawn listened with rapt attention, its eyes shining with curiosity and awe. Felix could see that the fawn was young and eager to learn, and he felt a sense of joy in sharing the magic of the forest with a new friend. As the afternoon turned to evening, Felix and the fawn decided to head back to the heart of the forest. They walked side by side, the fawn's small steps matching Felix's graceful stride. The forest seemed to glow in the golden light of the setting sun, and Felix felt a deep sense of peace. He knew that the enchanted woods held countless wonders, and he was grateful to be a part of it all. The two friends reached a clearing where they parted ways, the fawn returning to its family, and Felix heading back to his den. Felix watched the fawn disappear into the trees, feeling a sense of pride in having shared a part of the forest's magic. He turned and continued on his way, his tail glowing brightly as the first stars began to appear in the sky. That night, Felix lay in his den, thinking about the day's journey. He thought of the starlit pond, the whispering glade, and the friends he had made along the way. He knew that the enchanted woods were full of stories, and he felt a sense of excitement at the thought of all the adventures yet to come. As he closed his eyes, Felix felt the gentle embrace of the forest around him, and he drifted into a peaceful sleep, his dreams filled with the magic of the woods. The enchanted woods continued to thrive, a place of wonder and beauty, where creatures of all kinds could find peace and comfort. And perhaps on a quiet night, if you close your eyes and listen very carefully, you might just hear the gentle whispers of the forest, calling you to join them on a journey through the trees, where all your worries can melt away and only peace remains. The following day, Felix woke up to the sound of birds chirping outside his den. He stretched and yawned, feeling refreshed and ready for a new adventure. Today, he decided to visit the Crystal Caves, a place deep within the enchanted woods that was said to be filled with shimmering crystals and glowing stones. Felix had always been fascinated by the tales of the caves, and he felt that it was finally time to see them for himself. The journey to the Crystal Caves was a long one, and Felix knew that he would need to prepare. He gathered some berries and nuts, placing them in a small woven pouch that he carried on his back. With his glowing tail lighting the way, Felix set off, his heart filled with excitement and curiosity. The path to the Crystal Caves took Felix through a dense part of the forest, where the trees grew close together and their branches intertwined to create a natural archway. The air was cool and shaded, and Felix could hear the distant sound of running water. He moved gracefully through the underbrush, his ears perked and alert for any signs of movement. As Felix continued on his journey, he came across a group of birds perched on a low branch. They were singing a beautiful melody, their voices blending together in perfect harmony. Felix paused to listen, a smile spreading across his face. He knew that the forest was filled with music, and moments like these made him appreciate the beauty of the enchanted woods even more. After a while, Felix reached a clearing where a large, sparkling waterfall cascaded down from a cliff above. The water was crystal clear, and it formed a pool at the base of the waterfall. Felix approached the pool and took a sip of the cool, refreshing water. He could feel the energy of the forest flowing through him, and it gave him the strength to continue on his journey. The path grew steeper as Felix approached the entrance to the Crystal Caves. The ground was covered in small pebbles, and Felix had to be careful with each step to avoid slipping. The entrance to the caves was marked by two large stone pillars, each covered in vines and moss. Felix took a deep breath and stepped inside. The Crystal Caves were even more breathtaking than Felix had imagined. The walls of the cave were covered in shimmering crystals of all shapes and sizes, reflecting the light from Felix's glowing tail and casting colorful patterns on the floor. The air was cool and filled with a faint, musical hum, as if the crystals themselves were singing. Felix moved deeper into the cave, his eyes wide with wonder. He saw clusters of amethyst, quartz, and citrine crystals, each glowing with a gentle light. The ground beneath his paws was smooth, and the cave seemed to stretch on forever, with winding tunnels and hidden chambers waiting to be explored. As Felix ventured farther into the caves, he heard a soft rustling sound. He turned his head and saw a small creature peeking out from behind a cluster of crystals. It was a mole, its fur dark and velvety, and its eyes shining with curiosity. Felix smiled and approached the mole, greeting it warmly. The mole, whose name was Monty, had lived in the crystal caves for many years. He knew every tunnel, every hidden chamber, and every secret the caves held. Monty offered to show Felix around, and Felix eagerly accepted. Together, they explored the winding tunnels, Monty's small paws moving deftly over the smooth stone floor. Monty led Felix to a chamber deep within the cave, where the walls were covered in the largest crystals Felix had ever seen. These crystals glowed with a soft blue light, illuminating the entire chamber and creating a serene, almost magical atmosphere. Felix felt a sense of awe as he looked around, the beauty of the crystals filling him with wonder. Monty explained that these crystals were known as the dream crystals, and it was said that they held the power to bring peaceful dreams to those who sat in their presence. Felix sat down in the center of the chamber, his tail glowing softly, and closed his eyes. He could feel the gentle energy of the crystals surrounding him, and a sense of calm washed over him. For a long while, Felix and Monty sat together in silence, the only sound being the faint hum of the crystals. Felix felt his mind drifting, his thoughts becoming soft and unfocused. He imagined the stars. Above, the starlit pond, the whispering glade, and all the wonders of the enchanted woods. He felt at peace, his worries melting away, replaced by a deep sense of tranquility. After what felt like hours, Felix opened his eyes and smiled at Monty. He thanked the mole for sharing the magic of the crystal caves with him, and Monty nodded, a warm smile on his face. Felix knew that he would always remember this moment, the beauty of the crystals, and the feeling of peace that had filled his heart. Together, Felix and Monty made their way back through the winding tunnels of the cave, the crystals casting their gentle light on the path ahead. When they reached the entrance, Felix turned and looked back at the cave, a sense of gratitude filling him. He knew that the crystal caves were a special place, and he was thankful to have experienced their magic. Felix said goodbye to Monty, promising to return one day. Monty waved as Felix stepped out into the sunlight, the warmth of the day washing over him. Felix began the journey back to his den, his heart light and his mind at ease. He knew that the enchanted woods were filled with wonders, and he was excited to discover what other adventures awaited him. As Felix walked through the forest, he thought about all the places he had visited, the starlit pond, the whispering glade, and now the crystal caves. Each place held its own unique magic, and Felix felt a deep connection to the forest and all its wonders. He knew that there were still many secrets to uncover, and he looked forward to each new day and each new adventure. The sun was setting by the time Felix reached his den. He curled up beneath the roots of the ancient oak tree, his tail glowing softly as the first stars appeared in the sky. Felix closed his eyes, a smile on his face, and let the gentle sounds of the forest lull him to sleep. His dreams were filled with the beauty of the enchanted woods, the glow of the crystals, and the warmth of the friendships he had made along the way. The enchanted woods continued to thrive, a place of wonder and beauty, where creatures of all kinds could find peace and comfort. And perhaps on a quiet night, if you close your eyes and listen very carefully, you might just hear the gentle whispers of the forest, calling you to join them on a journey through the trees, where all your worries can melt away and only peace remains. And so, Felix's journey through the enchanted woods continued, each day bringing new discoveries, new friends, and new adventures. The forest was a place of endless magic, where the beauty of nature and the kindness of its creatures created a world of peace and wonder. And Felix, the wise fox with the glowing tail, was always ready to explore, to share, and to protect the magic of the Enchanted Woods.